What's up, guys? It's Darryl K. This is the group discussion today. Show and tell. We want to sit up here and tell you our favorite stories in comics. So who is so anxious to go first?
Willie.
Alright, my book is X-Men, God Loves, and Man Kills. Came out in 1982.
Oh.
This is the original print of it. It was pretty much my first introduction to the X-Men about racism and stuff like that. The X-Men pretty much, I don't know if they played the basis for X-Men 2 or William Stryker. William Stryker first was introduced in this book. Right. In the church, I can't remember the name of the church, but pretty much it's basically about racism. The X-Men were just sitting around in the mansion, and he came on talking about mutants did this, mutants did that. And, basically stuff they usually deal with in the book anyway. But it was like more hardcore because mutants were shot in the street. And one scene in the book that bothered me a lot when I was a kid. There was two black kids in the book. I don't know if you want. God, can we get close to it? Yeah. Two black kids in the book.
Yeah, brother and sister.
Brothers and sisters were chased by purifiers. This was before they was called purifiers, and they were chased in the street in their pajamas. Their parents were just killed in their house, and I want to do this for the other show too, but they chased them through the street, and then in the book they were killed, and they were children. And this was the first time I ever seen blood in the comic book. So it was like, wow. But then it was like they were black kids. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, man.
So then in the book. So pretty much, long story short about the book, the X-Men dealt with racism in their own way, and at the end of the book, Kitty Pryde did a long speech saying, it's not right that we're treated differently. We all bleed the same color. Mm-hmm. And at the end of one of the parts in the book too that happened, the guy William Stryker had some kind of machine where it was like he could detect mutants, and like his daughter was a mutant, and he killed her on camera. Mm-hmm. He killed her on camera in front of the world. So basically, and they pretty much proved that we were all the same people, but he was a monster. He was more of a monster than mutants were. Yeah. So it's a good read. I don't know.
Chris Claremont?
Yeah. Chris Claremont and Brent Eric. Brent Eric, after that I never heard of him again.
Yeah.
But it's a good review. It's a good book. If you see it in the store, I would recommend picking it up. Don't pick up God Love Man's Kill Part 2. It sucks. But get this one.
Well, this was the basis for the second X-Men movie in a way.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was the basis of the second X-Men.
Actually, this probably would have been better than the second X-Men movie.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Alright, mine is actually a relatively new book. In 2009, Dark Avengers came out. This was spinning right out of Secret Invasion. This was pretty much just like my story. I mean, this is, what if the villains won the day? Norman Osborn and his team of Thunderbolts pretty much take the seat at S.H.I.E.L.D. They turn it into Hammer, and the new Avengers are born. Hawkeye is actually secretly Bullseye, and Spider-Man is Venom, and the public doesn't know this.
Oh yeah.
And so I really like this book for the fact that it was pretty much deception in the eyes of everyone. In the world, of course, the new Avengers are driven underground and things like that. And I just really like how this book played out, because they had not only just villains, but the heroes. They had the Sentry, they had Ares, and they had Novar, who was a relatively new character at the time.
Oh yeah.
And of course, the fact that Norman Osborn even deceived some of these people into joining the group without even telling them, like, hey, Moonstone is actually, your Miss Marvel. There was actually a hard-hitting scene in there where Novar is actually sleeping with Moonstone, and she's laughing at Norman Osborn, who's on TV, as the advocate for the Avengers, and she's laughing at him like, wow, I can't believe these people are actually believing this crap. And at that point, Novar had that kind of spark, like, well, what do you mean? And she's like, we're all villains. So I think that was the beginning of Novar's heroism, I think. And this book was just absolutely fantastic. Brian Bendis has always been my favorite writer. Don't like the man per se, but I really like his writing. This book is just absolutely amazing. And Mike Dietto is on art. So I mean, you really can't go.
It's
wrong with
awesome
that
that you actually brought up Norman Osborn, because a lot of people that don't read comics always associate him with Spider-Man, when in fact he has such a huge influence on that universe.
He does. As a matter of fact, that's still kind of reverberating in the Marvel universe, because certain characters have still been are still kind of scarred from that. Luke Cage, for example.
My man Luke.
Yeah. Hawkeye, of course. You got to think Wolverine and Miss Marvel. They all had their images tainted, because after the world discovers that these are a band of villains, of course, now you have your outfit on TV doing the things that they did. Bullseye would just shoot down kids without a problem, cause mass destruction while taking down a villain like Molecule Man, which hasn't really been a problem for Avengers in the past. They were just really reckless with how they handled things and really tainted the image of the Avengers.
In other words, like the ends justifies the means.
Right.
Right. One of the things, and I did read that, was when Namor shows up.
Right.
And Norman Osborn's like giving him, holy heck, like, you'll come when I tell you. And I love what Namor tells him. He says, let me give you a little bit of information. I'm the king of Atlantis.
Yeah.
Mine is a civilization far older than yours. The fact that I'm even letting you talk to me should be considered a privilege.
And that's another
You will
thing
not
is that-
command me. You will not obey. I will not obey you. And what does Norman Osborn say? We don't do these things because I told you to. That's why we got a problem.
I don't know, yeah. Aquaman's kind of the king of Atlantis to me, yeah.
Yeah, but
Marvel Universe.
yeah, because Namor did come out before.
But the one thing that really that ultimately brought the downfall of these Avengers was that, like Matt said, that Norman Osborn thought he had this kind of control over
everybody,
over the kings and the rulers of these different lands. He thought he had Doctor Doom and Namor at his disposal,
and even Loki, a god.
Loki, and he was sadly mistaken. That ended up being his downfall.
Yeah, man. So, going to you, Matt. What you got for us next?
Mine is a classic 4-issue series that, I got into the trade paperback first. Batman, The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller.
Oh, of course.
As Frank Miller has said in many numerous interviews, it was time someone gave Batman his backbone back. Because here's a character who was created by an act of violence. The 60s TV show, even as a kid I hated that. I thought, this is so campy, okay? It was. I'm sorry, here's a character.
I don't know. I kind of liked it that, but that's a different discussion for another day.
Exactly. But as a fan of Batman since I was a little kid, it's like, no, he would not be this. Well, old chum, there's another villain put away for the day. No, he's going to be someone who's basically like, the guy's not playing with a full deck. He dresses up as a flying rodent and goes out at night and beats the living crap out of criminals.
I don't know. The 1960 Batman had bat cookies.
And bat shark repellent. How often do you need that?
Right. That's what. Now you guys are giving me weight for my argument. Okay, thank you.
Anyway, back to the graphic novel.
But no, what I liked about it was, here's this man. He's like, he hadn't been seen for 10 years, and pretty much Gotham City, if not the whole world, has gone to hell in a handbasket. And when he finally shows back up, it's like, well, you see, it's a whole, you even said it yourself, it's a whole new breed of criminals.
Oh, yeah.
They get off on just doing thrill kills. They're the descendants of, like, the children of, like, what the Joker was doing, but now it's like, it's like,
well, they had
present day.
Yeah, they had no
You hear
motivation.
about people, they had no motivation, whereas the Joker, at least he was doing it. Well, the guy's psychotic. These are people who, wasn't a damn thing wrong with them.
They just wanted to kill people.
So how did you, I do have to ask you this, Matt, how did you like the different incarnations of the classic Bat villains? Face or the Joker?
Well, I thought what's really great, that's why this is one of my favorite stories. Like I said, here's a man, Bruce Wayne, who's just, he's not playing with a full deck. It makes sense that the people in his rogues gallery would be just as crazy, if not crazier.
Correct.
Like Two-Face, when after he had his face restored, and like he tells me, he goes, they all, I smiled at the cameras, I waved, but Bruce, and that's the thing, he knows who Batman is, and it's like, but tell me what you see, and he's like, a reflection, Harvey, just my reflection. In other words, some scars run so deep that all the cosmetic surgery in the world, all the makeup can't
And
fix
see,
it.
that's the one thing that I was actually just having a discussion with somebody else with, is Two-Face was not a villain reason but other than his own psychosis.
Right,
exactly.
Because he was beaten as a child and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the scar that made him the villain. It was the thing that drove him over the edge.
Yeah, and going back to that, just like in general, I'm glad we actually brought up this point because I feel like a lot of people actually do forget that Batman kind of don't have a full deck. He has some loose screws too. People forget that Batman has some problems. He has some issues. I think people,
But here's the thing, and it's like the old saying goes: if you're strange and you're poor, if you're poor and you do strange things, you're considered unbalanced. But if you're rich and you do strange things, thank you, Allie, you're eccentric. Oh, that's right. But that's the thing. It's like, and I know you're going to hate me for this. It's like kick-ass. I'm sorry. Now, in the real world, a cop would have said, "Oh, really? You're taking the law into your own hands?" Bang! Guess what? Now you're coming down to the station with me. Now, you hear of cops beating the living snot out of people just, "Hey, officer, F you." "Oh, really?" And they'll take their chances.
Yeah,
yeah, I know.
But no, Batman The Dark Knight Returns is my favorite graphic novel of all time because of being a Batman fan, and also Frank Miller. Because, like I said, it is dark, but that's the thing. Like I said, it's supposed to be dark. I mean, we could talk about, like, Sin City, Batman Year One, hell, Alan Moore, for that matter.
Alan Moore. Yeah, that's my boy.
But yeah, Daredevil's a great example. Daredevil was basically another version. He's like Marvel Comics version of Batman. But we're on the Batman, not Daredevil. No, it's okay. But the thing is, and the thing is with Dark Knight Returns, you see that here he's gone to all this trouble to finally clean up his little corner of the world, and he succeeds in doing it. But in the same breath, it's like, what you've created has become even bigger than you. You can't be. It's like a mantle, and he realizes,
And going back,
I got to pass this down to someone.
Yeah.
You know?
Going back to that whole thing is, he's, of course, part of Batman's craziness is that he only really does care about his own town. Have you ever thought that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, he does.
Well, no, actually,
they come
he
in
cares
and try
about his place in the world, and those closest to him. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, here's a man I love it in Dark Knight Returns when him and Superman finally have it out. And he's like, "Now, Ollie!" And Green Arrow shoots the kryptonite arrow, and Superman catches it and explodes. He says, "Yeah, Clark, see, the thing is, it cost me a fortune and took years to make. Luckily, I had both." In other words, like, the eccentricity. This man, look what he will do just to win a battle. And here's supposed to be... What's that?
A battle that didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. If all he had to do was say, "Okay, you know what, Clark, I'll go underground," but he can't because he realizes, like he tells him in the story, and the movie was great.
Yeah.
When he says, "Look at you, Clark. You're a guy. You're a damn joke. You're a government lackey. And what am I? I'm a political embarrassment to these people. I'm doing the one thing the government ain't got the backbone to do." It says, "You want to commit a crime?" "Oh no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I will beat you black and blue, and then you'll be begging me to kill you." But then I'm going to say, "No, I'm done." Do it again, and there you'll get worse. And it's like, in a way, this is kind of like Frank Miller's own political view of saying this is how justice should be done.
Speaking of justice, going into Allie, what you got for us today?
I actually chose V for Vendetta. It's so timeless. It was written 30 years ago, and it's about, this nameless man, V, who is pretty much telling the people, like, look what your government has done. Look how you have been blinded. You need to wake up, and he's going to these extreme measures to show people, things are not what you think they are. You need to, you've been blinded by the media. You need to reassess what your country is doing and what direction your country is going in. And I mean, with the recent WikiLeaks, Snowden, all these things, it's still very prominent today. And it's just, I loved the fact in the comic it doesn't take that romantic interest storyline they chose in the movie.
Yeah.
And the fact that V could have been anyone.
Yeah.
And I just felt like it was much more pure that way.
Well, a lot of people had a gripe about that with the movie. The movie was still good.
It was fantastic.
I love it.
Yeah,
It was good.
but that's one thing I did not like about the movie when they showed them all dressed up as Guy Fawkes, which they were trying to do, I think, like with the original graphic novel. But like you said, Allie, when she finally unmasks him, oh, he's my father. No, he was. No, he was.
He could have been anyone.
Right.
And then she, dons the mask at the end.
Right, and that's what I would have loved to see in the film, her doing it, because that should become the video.
Yeah, man.
It's definitely one of my favorites, for sure.
It's a great story.
Yeah, man. All right.
Daryl,
All right,
what's
down
your
to you,
favorite?
Daryl.
Darryl K. What do Darryl K got to say about his favorite graphic novel? I think I gotta say this. Lobo. L-O-B-O. L for lacerate, O for obliterate, B for disembowel, O for, I guess I can use obliterate again. My boy. Yeah, she says that. Yeah, she says that. No, but I chose Lobo, Portraits of a Beast. It's basically bastard and another word I don't want to say that's too cruel combined. And basically what this graphic novel did for my boy was actually give him the origin. Basically after you read this book, you actually can finally actually see that he's not a parody at all. They actually gave him some backbone or some story. Yeah. And one thing about what people forget about Lobo is that his first appearance was back in, I don't want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, the late 70s in Omega Man. That was his first appearance ever. Yeah, the 80s. Yeah. And Omega Man, and he was basically made to be a parody of Wolverine. And I guess they got to a certain point because the book came out in 2008 when they said, you know, let's actually get Lobo a story. Let's actually give him some type of origin because his origin always seemed to change after every 5 years. He never had like a steady origin. And they finally said, no, let's do this right now. Let's give him something steady.
But that goes right back to the Wolverine angle.
And remember, I was talking about that on the last episode with you guys about how Wolverine always changed up because of his different writers. Basically, in Portraits of a Beast, you get to see Lobo whole life. They basically tell how he comes from a planet, how basically he's the last Carnesian left, and how he killed this whole planet. You also get to see how the bounty hunter, his mom works, basically whatever. How the only thing that literally binds Lobo to anything is his word or space dolphins. If you're not getting his word, or if you don't have a space dolphin, Lobo is not listening to a damn thing you say. Lobo does what he wants. He plays by his rules. Funniest thing about Lobo, I know this isn't my broken superhero segment, but they actually like list down his powers on one separate page. And basically, the reason why Lobo is so strong and always can get stronger to a certain extent because this rock station plays this one song that he loves, and he literally went there and beat up all the guys there. Just
the DJ told him to play this song, and he was like 3 years old at the time.
Exactly, and they played the same station.
Until I get sick of hearing it.
Exactly. And one thing you can do to actually make Lobo weaker, which is kind of weird, that Bill Drox found out, is if you shut down that station, it kind of make Lobo weaker, which I always found kind of...
It was kind of like what had happened was Lobo and Viral Docs were fighting it out.
Yeah.
And Lobo was getting the upper hand until a freak meteor storm hit the radio station and knocked the signal out, and Lobo,
messed him up. And also another power too that Lobo has, his Achilles heel factor. Lobo actually has the ability when he can look at somebody like in 8 seconds, size them up, and know their weakness. I always thought that was pretty cool. But basically that's what the graphic novel was wrapped about. It's about his journeys. You get to see his life unfold. You get to see about his untimely death. How basically when he goes to heaven, he's too much for heaven to handle. And when he goes to hell, they try to contain him. They even sent Esther the demon to fight him. But then Esther the demon just gets his butt whipped. So they decide to send him back. But first they send him back as a woman. And he's all pissed about it. So then he beats everybody as a woman.
It's all the same book?
Yeah. It has a collection of
Last Zarnian and
it happens a lot.
Back.
Yeah, it happens a lot. A lot of this stuff happens. You get to see his whole life unfold. Anybody that want to know about Lobo, his true origin, basically the consensus of what it is today, I definitely recommend it. It's one of my personal things because I love Lobo ever since he was created, just because I love everything about him. I love the main man. I love the fact that Lobo calls himself the main man when nobody else doesn't. I just love that. I love that he calls himself the main man and nobody else doesn't. But guys, that's all we got for y'all today, and that's what Darryl K Says.
You forgot the one thing.
What?
How he got drunk and beat the living snot house Superman just to prove his
You're so good at that. We're so good.
Actually,
I know. Last time we got
that's in a different one.
I know.